Greetings,
Greetings.
greetings.
Hey, sis. We are back.
We are back for day 2 of this wonderful experience of Circle Sister podcast, where we talk about the issues of women.
Hey,
Yeah,
I am your host, Lady Up. I am a spiritual life coach, intuitive life coach, or trainer, and just a sister in love here with my sister, Chantel Cierta. I
I
share.
am Chantel Sierta Shakim here to just help us see ourselves, right? This is a really um, inviting experience where we can all come into the space, talk about the issues that we have in life, in fellowship, in our communities. We are here today to talk about our Sacred Woman journey. And then give some tips and insights of what that looks like and how that might be of interest to you.
Ashe. This is a place, a safe space, a sacred space. Although we are in virtual area, we have blessed this platform. And so there is nothing but love and light in the circle. We ask that you keep any negativity, any negative comments to I'm not even gonna say to yourself, you may share so that we may bless your energy. Ashe.
Ashe. And you know what? And there's really no negative energy. They're just opportunities for us to
The
grow,
growth.
to expand, and to see other people's perspective. I mean, that's one thing that we often find in our community, especially as women, that we get caught up in some of this gossip and some of the ways that we look down on others and some of the ideas that we see that other people present that may not align to the truth of who we are, but in fact it is definitely something that is mirroring ourselves, right? So it's really insightful to think of our negative experiences an opportunity for us to self-evaluate. So that's one thing that Sacred Woman had taught me and is continuing to teach me. We constantly are bombarded with opportunities to grow, right? Opportunities to see the good in everybody's experience, whether we personally see it as a negative. It's also a part of us, really. That's
And a
why
part of the
it's
experience.
triggering, that's why it's causing us to feel some type of way, but it's also a part of the opportunity to change.
I say. One of the I didn't think of it as negative at the time, but there was a period of time where everybody was saying no new friends. Remember that? Everybody was
Yes.
like, oh, no new friends, no new friends. I got my crew, I got my crew. And I was on that bandwagon, just like the rest of them. No new friends. I ain't got time to learn new people. And then, as we step into the topic of today's show, as to how we met, and then I embarked on a journey of all new friends, of bringing so much new life, new energy, new perspective, new travel, okay? Because I've traveled to some new places in this time to my life. And that actually segues into how you and I met. So I know a lot of you are curious about how the two of us know each other, how we forged this bond. And so that's what today is about. This is the Circle of Sisters, and we are talking about sisterhood today. And inviting the energy that you need to cultivate into your life. And sometimes that energy comes in the form of a new sister. Ashe?
Yes, yes. And that's definitely something that I had just a really small circle of associates, I would say, that I would talk to mainly at work. I had some friends, but most of my friends, I would say, would be my family growing up. I have a big, big family. I came from a big family. I didn't need friends because I had 82 first cousins, so that's a lot of people to be mixing and mingling with. So that really encompassed most of my life, just connecting with my cousins, connecting with my associates outside of work for fun, but not really having those women around me to hold me accountable, to really help me shift my perspective of life and what it means. And in that, I learned that, everybody I come in contact with is very instrumental. And how that kind of began to unravel for me was during my Sacred Woman Ascension, right? It's like coming into our circle for the first time in our big master calls. It was just like, wow, all these women are really a reflection of me as we began to tell our stories and share our experiences in life. We all had a lot of similarities and a lot of hurts and a lot of trauma and grief and a lot of undeviled or unrevealed experiences that we weren't able to really talk about. So Sacred Woman program really allowed us to come to bring that stuff to the surface and begin to kind of work through it, as you saw that you're not alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of Sacred Woman, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Sacred Woman is a book. Some of us know it as the Black Girl Bible.
Yes.
It is a book full of gems on how to live a holistic African natural lifestyle. It is very comedic based, so it does have a comedic foundation and giving principles based on areas of life. So it's 12 gateways. We went through this journey together for 12 weeks, exploring each gateway of Sacred Woman with our beloved Queen Afua, and all of our moots, aboots, Sacred Woman practitioners, and mentors. They took us through a 12-week journey. And that's actually where I saw you for the first time, Chantel. I remember being on the calls week after week, seeing the same gorgeous smiling face with the flower matching each gateway week after week. And we had a large season. Had, I think, nearly about 200 women. But you were one of the women that completely stuck out the entire time. And so by the time we had our ascension and we were physically going to meet all of the ladies, I was super excited to meet you because I'm like, who is this girl with the flower? I got to meet this girl with the flower. And when you're on a Zoom call with 200 people, 200 plus people tend to get lost in the shuffle. But what I've noticed when you are in a circle of women, those women who like stand out to you, who catch your eye, there is something there that you definitely want to explore. Even if you're in a new room, you've been invited to a gala and someone catches your eye, you may want to spark up a conversation because there's something, some piece of information, some jewel that person is supposed to add to your life. And throughout that journey, I was just looking at you every week after week. And when we got to Ascension, I feel like I remember the exact moment. It was just like, hey, like you're you.
Yes, we got to actually see and feel that energy in person. And that was like, it was like we had known each other forever. I remember at the time you were pregnant with our first sacred baby, Kylie, and she is now what, 2, 3?
Will be 3 in a
3.
couple of,
Yes. So she was that piqued my attention. It was like, she's getting all this insight and she's pregnant, carrying a baby, and how insightful and how beautiful is this experience going to be for her child. And I remember thinking about that and just knowing that insight that we were getting through the program and the healing that was happening. And even as you shared your story and, your pregnancies and all the things that came about with that, it was just like, wow, we are all here learning something to help us be better. So I was definitely so excited to meet you. And there were several other sisters also who stood out that we all have gotten so close because of our vulnerability, first off, our
Yeah.
non-judgment of people's situations and experiences,
Yeah.
and the healing that took place in that process. Each one of us were very instrumental to helping us grow, helping us heal. I mean, a lot of people say, we're all healing, but really, it's really an expansion, right? It's not really healing, but it is healing to our soul. It helps us to be better. It helps us to be more in tune with who we are. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I did as well. And one of the things prior to coming into the Rites of Passage, the Sacred Woman program, I had put a call out to the universe. I wrote it in a poem and then I actually said it live, which I think speaking things into existence, and we'll talk more about this as the weeks come, but speaking things into existence, our voice is our most powerful tool and powerful instrument. And at the time, I was going through a spiritual shift, but I was going through it alone. I didn't really have many friends or family I could talk about the things because I come from a devoutly religious family. Most of my friends are in the church at the time. And so as I started to explore some of the greater works that we talked about, some of the tools, the techniques, and living a more holistic lifestyle, I noticed the separation and the gap happening between myself and some of my friends. And so I put a call out to the universe in a poem, just calling out for my tribe. And I remember one of the lines was, those aware and equipped for this universal shift, let the sound of
Ooh.
my voice.
Yes,
I was, I
yes.
was I was calling for them, right? And when I stepped into the circle, I remember, because when you're pregnant, you're super emotional. So I remember being just so engulfed with the energy of the circle. It was a lot of energy because there was plenty of us there, right? But
Mhm.
not only that, the women opening themselves up, being vulnerable, sharing with the collective, and then hearing myself outside of myself, seeing
Right.
myself outside of myself made the journey that much stronger. And not only that, seeing representations of my mother, women
Mhm.
who struggle with certain things that reminded me of my mother, allowed me to see my mother differently, allowed me to
Absolutely.
see other relationships that I had differently. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great. So when we actually got a chance to meet in person, the vibration was already so electrifying. Um,
Yes.
I think it just catapulted us kind of to where we are now. This sisterhood has grown, this bond between us and our sisters has grown in such a way that is really inexplicable at times. It's hard for me to put into words sometimes.
It's very much like we have been here before, kind of. It's like your whole life in review, right? Because you see the different stages that you've been through, but how other people have made it through. And really within our circle, we were able to share and grow and see how people have coped, how people have managed to come through on the other side of the maybe not so comfortable situations. So, one thing about the program, which I really, really enjoyed, and which also we've kind of developed the program of embracing the queen within around, is the principles, the 12 principles of holistic living, right? And those principles are very, very important to really beginning to align your life, right? Aligning your life and seeing how impactful the things you do influence how your life kind of begins to evolve. So, do you want to go into a few of those principles?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I will start off with the one that the principle that I was working on for about 5 years prior to even stepping in to the actual official Sacred Woman program and circle. I had the book, like many of us, and I got intimidated. I opened it up, I started reading it. I got through the first gateway, which is the womb, and I was stuck there because there was so much that I had to unpack in that area. And it was almost hard to do it alone. And so
Mhm.
I was going through, and every step you take is a step in the right direction. And I needed to do those things on my own for that number of years so that my vibration could be lifted to a point where I could even take on the rest of the gateways because we know it gets tough. But the working with the womb and really honoring my womb and reconnecting with my womb, because oftentimes, especially those of us who have experienced trauma, whether it be physical trauma, mental trauma, spiritual trauma, especially in the womb area, we tend to shut off our connection with that area. And so, reconnecting to my womb in a different way and honoring my womb was one of the principles that still to this day is a forefront of every single thing that I do, because it's checking in with me, the most deepest parts of me. And so that would be, one of the principles that I would have to throw out immediately. How about you?
I'll kind of chime in on what the womb space kind of was for me and really the beginning of my journey. Unlike you, I had basically never heard of Sacred Woman, never ever heard of the program. It had been out, 22, 21 years. Never ever heard of it. I had been on a journey of my own, just seeking truth, right? Coming from the religious background of Christianity and really diving deep into it all, like really prayer warrior, doing dance ministry at church, studying my Bible to show myself approved, diving deep into all the ins and outs, reading it, feeling very much secure in that foundation of Christianity, but feeling like there was something missing. It's like, this is not all there is, right? So I began to call out to the Most High God, and I'm like, if there has to be more. And it was very traumatic for me what I heard, and it was to leave the church. I'm like, hold up, because that again was my other outlet, my foundation and my security and my safety net, and a lot of my friends, right?
Mhm.
Out. So leaving the church was a huge challenge. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm not sure about this. And I would use my Bible as a tool to give me information. I would ask a question and then I would open the Bible. I would hear message or scriptures, and I would hear like a scripture, John 3:16, which we all know that one if you're into Christianity. But it would come like that, a book of the Bible and a verse. And I remember when I was toiling with having to leave the church, I opened to a message that was given, and it said, "My sheep know my voice, and no others will they follow." So leaving the church to hear the voice of God in me was my inspiration. So I began to dabble into listening to my inner voice, that God voice within me. And that God voice began to teach me things that I never could read in the Bible, or it would reference the Bible, but go deeper into it of a spiritual nature, which I'd never experienced before. And no one else was around me talking about this or experiencing this. So it was a very lonely road, but I knew it was the path that I needed to go on. So in that discovery, I was able to go on what I put into the universe as a spiritual retreat. I said, I want to go on a spiritual retreat, not having an idea of really what type of spiritual retreat I was going to get to go on, right? But my envision of it was just getting off grid, going into a beautiful area and just sitting with myself, sitting with the books and the workshops that I had taken before, just, I mean, everything that I had, I took it with me. And that was my idea, to take it with me and really go in with God. Well, where I ended up was at Rhythmia. If any of you know about Rhythmia, Rhythmia is a spiritual retreat center that utilizes plant medicine as a part of the services that they give. And those services help awaken you to the truth of you, really, and the truth of God, or universal energy, or source energy. And we had 4 ceremonies there. We learned a lot about breath work. The ceremonies included ayahuasca. If anyone is familiar with it or not familiar, you could look it up, but the looking it up may not be as beneficial as having the experience for yourself, because it is very personal. So when I came back from that retreat, a sister friend of mine, who I would not ever think knew anything about Queen Afua. She hasn't done the Queen Afua program, Sacred Woman, but she was aware of her. So back and I began to share with her my experiences and what I was tapping into, these greater works. I mean, yeah, she said, well, Queen Afua might be somebody you should look into. And lo and behold, if not 2 weeks later, our rites of passage was starting. So I was so super excited. And I'm like, okay, I'm in for it, not knowing anything, but definitely very influential to the next steps in the next part of my journey. So going back to the gateway, womb space really wasn't, the first gateway really wasn't my gateway. My gateway, the gateway that I battled with, or that I was going back and forth with, was sacred space. Although that wasn't the ascension gateway for me, or my graduation gateway, it really began to help me cultivate the sacred space within me and my communion with what I call God. So that was really a place of really cleaning up the clutter, cleaning up the ideas, cleaning up the mindsets, cleaning up my physical surroundings so that I can really be clear about next steps. And then my next gateway would be Neferatum, which I didn't know anything about that, but my flower was very symbolic of that. And that is the gateway of coming up out of the mud, coming up out of the mindsets that keep us stuck, but also understanding that the mud is necessary, right? The mud is necessary for the growth. So it's a lotus flower that comes up, and it's a woman of enlightenment, a woman of vision, a woman who sees things from a different perspective. And my flower became my symbol from the start, just because that was part of my experience on my sacred journey, first with the ayahuasca, but also as it kind of brought together each gateway and the symbolics with each gateway and the colors with each gateway. And it really was a protection of my crown space to help me remember every day that I am living this sacred life. So I know this is really a personal thing for me, but it's very, very, very purposeful.
Absolutely. You mentioned hearing the voice that told you you had to search outside the church.
Mhm.
I distinctly remember when I heard that voice, and um, I was in church very regularly, doing all the things like many of us are, praise dancing. I was the one creating the church plays. I was Sunday school teacher, and I was just all in. But there was a part of me that was not completely being fed, and I could not put my finger on it.
Mhm.
And so I doubled down. I said, sign me up for Bible college. I went to Bible college for a whole year. And in that, I was so grateful because I learned how to really and truly study the Bible. and to
Yeah.
decipher it.
Mhm.
For myself, and it started to hit a little bit deeper. But then the voice got louder and was like, explore, like you said, outside of the constructs of just this book, this religion. You have to, I'm omnipotent, omnipresent. You're gonna have to really pull from everything. And during that time, I started to travel, and travel is one of the most spiritual things that you can do. So when you mention sacred space, um, I take that with traveling as well, because when you enter a new country, state, city, even region, you feel the energetic shift. It's very spiritual.
Yes.
Even driving through LA, as I go from LA to Compton to Inglewood, the energy shifts. So when you travel, that same thing happens. And I've never felt closer to God than when I travel and I'm meeting new people in new areas. And so I started to think about that in spirituality and explore other things. And I still have my Sacred Woman book. And as you said, a friend who hadn't taken the program yet, but was familiar with Queen and had did some one workshops with her, she sent me the link. And as we say, the rest is history. I do want to mention that these principles are foundational principles that no matter what your religious affiliation is, these are principles that are really great tools to live by. Unfortunately, as people of African descent in America, many of us don't have what we would have had, in our homeland. We would have had a rites of passage. There would have been certain tools and techniques passed on to us. And unfortunately, because we have been in a state of survival mode in this country for hundreds of years, it's just been, this is what we got to do to to survive. But we haven't really been teaching the tools to live and thrive. And so for me,
Yes.
coming into Sacred Woman was giving me the tools to actually live and enjoy life and thrive in that space. Because I was just taught how to survive, and I was good at surviving. Let me just say, I was good at it.
Mhm.
Had all of the things and the tools, but something was missing that I couldn't put my finger on it. And this journey through Sacred Woman allowed me to do that. And what I love so much about what we're doing with embracing the Queen within is we're stripping away any of the outside influences and really doubling down on the you part.
The you part, that is the key, because it all starts with me, right? If not me, then who? Right? We want our experiences to be different, but we are not always inclined or equipped to change our circumstances. You mentioned being able to survive, right? Being able to survive is what I think of, our basic needs. We make sure we have food, shelter, clothing. We make sure we have a safe space to be. And we make sure we're able to eat, but it's like, it's more to life than that. And that's the part we've often missed because of the way our society is set up. You did speak about how the environment in different places are different. You can feel the difference. Some people haven't even ever been outside of their own hometown, right? Or so they wouldn't even be able to understand that difference. But it is a difference in energy. And this energy that we feel and the energy that we are is in everyone, right? It's nothing special, but it is something special. Let me take that back. It is the God essence of who we are, but we also may not be aware of it, right? If we are stuck or if we're stagnant, if we are in this box, as we mentioned yesterday, that doesn't exist, but we confined ourselves to it, our experiences are confined to just that, what we see, and that tunnel vision. This is what everybody around me is doing. So within this work, I've found that meeting different people and seeing their different perspectives also help to open me up to different ideas and different ways of thinking. We have to, as the Bible speaks, renew our mind every day. Renew our mind with the mind of Christ consciousness. And that
Yeah.
Christ consciousness is where all of us abide. So being able to travel and traverse our own inner minds and our own inner spaces helps us to begin to live our abundant lives. So this is really, really, really kind of heavy work, but it also can be fun if we put that energy of joy behind it. I mean, we have to follow our passions, follow our bliss, and begin to be equipped to overcome the challenges that come up in life. And that's what this podcast is all about. Being real to self, coming in here, adjusting our crowns, adjusting our mindsets, adjusting our attitudes toward the life that we live. So I'm again super excited for everyone who has joined and come into the circle. We are so thankful for you guys. We are so thankful for this community that we're building. We ask that you share, likes, and subscribe when we get it out on YouTube so that we can really, really meet the needs of the women and the people that choose to watch us. Because this principles of sacred living is not just for women, it's for men as well, because they can utilize these same tools. It's not only women, but it's all of us, the wholeness of humanity.
Ashe. I want to step into, I want to touch on a little bit about what you spoke about. You spoke about Christ consciousness. And I really, really want to explain what that is. So many of us, even Christians, don't know that Christ itself, the word Christ, is a title, which translates literally to anointed one. And so when we speak about Christ consciousness, that is the anointed consciousness. That is the consciousness of ourselves and tapping into our own inner divinity in order to see things more clearly. We are all encompassing of each other, understanding that there is the duality within life. So there is no, as we look at it, negative. There is only polarities that exist. And so when we change our perspective in how we see things, then we are able to broaden our horizons. And when we step into Christ consciousness, we are basically stepping into our own inner divinity. We have embarked upon doing exactly what the word has instructed us to do, which is to live as Christ taught. And a part of that is changing your perspective in the way that you think about everything, really. And when we step into circles like this, right, there are all type of energies that are there. And I want to talk about a little of the things that we get when we meet new friends. And I want to shout out one of our sacred sisters. I don't know if she's heard this particular story. I've told it a couple times, and I've been trying to get around to telling it to her directly. But I want to tell a story about really when you meet someone and they rub you the wrong way. Okay. And this is from my, I'm speaking from personal experience. So we were at one of the ascensions, and one of our sisters, sacred woman practitioner, Danny, what is Danny's last name? Not Danny. There's two Dannys, but the one who does sacred food, the chef.
Okay. I don't remember her name either.
But absolutely love her. Beautiful chocolate.
Henry.
Yes. Beautiful chocolate skin. Absolutely love her. Now, when we met, she's gorgeous. I mean, like mahogany chocolate skin. Gorgeous girl. Immediately, I'm drawn to her energy because she has this aura that just transcends about her. And she is completely, strictly raw vegan. And so, the Bible has a passage. I can't remember where, but it says that, you know, you honor your brothers and your sisters. So if your brother don't eat meat, then when you're in their presence, out of respect, you don't eat meat. Well, I am transitioning into completely plant based, and at this time, I was a lot further than where I am now. And so completely raw was like a new thing for me. But she wanted some raw food, and she was like, "There's this great restaurant in downtown LA. Now we're by LAX." And she's like, "Let's go over to downtown LA. It's 2 o'clock. We have literally Ascension or an event starting at 4, supposedly." And I'm like,
Divine time, honey, divine time.
yeah. So the whole entire time, she's like, "We're gonna make it on time. We'll arrive back on time." And her energy is just like a vibration I have yet
To
to
attain, right? You're
attain.
there.
But that clean diet, baby, this is what helped me to get some stuff in check with myself. So her energy is high, and I'm triggered because I'm behind the wheel in the middle of LA rush hour traffic, trying to drive to downtown LA and back to LAX within a 2 hour time span, which people know is like nearly impossible, right? And she's like, "Don't worry, we're gonna make it." Not once did she elevate her voice. She didn't stress. Like, it was like I saw a goddess in motion. And it was irritating me. It was rubbing me the wrong way. I was like, "Ugh, she don't shut up." Talking about we gonna make it there in divine timing. And so we got there, we got our food, we ate. And then when we got back, they hadn't started none. We had plenty of time. So we had plenty of time to go change. And she was like, "I told you everything will work out in divine time." And the vibration of her energy, it was affecting me because I was vibrating at a lower frequency at that point. So it was rubbing me the wrong way as I thought, but it was her pulling me up to her frequency. She wasn't dropping down to my frequency. You gonna rise to my frequency. And I had to step outside of myself. I didn't get it immediately. Okay. So let me just say that I didn't get the download immediately. This download happened over the span of a couple of months because I was like, why did this girl irritate me so much? Why was I so irritated by this, this correspondence? And it was because she was challenging me to step up for myself in a way that I had not, especially in an area that I had so much challenge with, which was sacred food. That's what many of us have a challenge with. So she was challenging me
in more ways than one. In more ways than one.
Yes.
You were feeling the energy of, I don't even eat this kind of food. First off, I don't even need to be going all the way over here, but we gonna do it. And then for her to be so nonchalant, per se, or just so high frequency, like it's good, and you like, no, it ain't. So I remember that day we went, but I wouldn't have known there was any of that going on. But on that note, she is an awesome chef, and her lifestyle and her way of life is just been phenomenal. She also has a website called Let's Talk Food. If you're interested, on Instagram, follow her. Lots and lots and lots of raw vegan food choices and options. And she just also had a sacred baby and has been instilling that lifestyle from the womb of this high vibrational energy. So yes, if you're interested in that gateway or that principle of living, Let's Talk Food, Danny Henry, I believe, on Instagram. Check her out. Our sacred sister, beautiful, beautiful soul, lots of insight, lots of ideas in helping you on your food journey, because food is definitely medicine to our minds, medicine to our bodies, medicine to help us overcome dis-ease and dysfunction in our life, because as we know, we are what we eat. Not to say that everybody needs to have a plant-based vegan lifestyle, because I've found in my most recent evolution is that we have to honor who we are and whose we are, and also the lineage of which we come from.
That's right.
So that has been a new experience for me, being mostly non-meat. I'll say non-meat eating for the last 3 years, but now being challenged in that with the desires as I connect to my higher self and those that support me on my journey and their needs and their wants, and honoring them, as I spoke yesterday, like we have to honor our child, our younger child. So we are vessels, really. We are vessels of the Most High, and our bodies and our minds and our spirits all are integrating into this oneness, into the wholeness. So beginning by cleaning up your diet is a great way to get some clarity and to begin to navigate the ideas and the thoughts, and to find out what's mine and what's not mine. Where did this come from? Why am I feeling this way? Or why do I want to eat a whole bunch of chocolate? Or why do I want to eat a whole bunch of ice cream and just binge out? Or why am I craving this pork chop that I haven't eaten in forever? Or this bacon BLT sandwich that I am feeling sick to my stomach and feeling like I have to eat it because this is what keep coming up, you know? And it's like, oh my God, where is this coming from? And these are the battles we battle within ourselves. And then we are only the judge. We're the judge of our own self. So honoring ourselves, honoring our experiences, and just really beginning to clean up so that we can hear clearly. That's the focus. And a plant-based diet really is beneficial for that, especially in the beginning, because we have so many toxins that we've taken into our bodies through the fast food, through the processed food, through the dairy, you know, and the cheeses. And that's kind of one of my weaknesses still. But your body will not lie to you. You'll start feeling the mucus. You'll start having the coughs. You'll start having the congestion. You'll start having the constipation or diarrhea, or the issues associated with that we often see that have been diagnosed. But it's really going back to the core of your mind and your heart and how you're processing emotions. That is really where it starts. Beginning to know how to process your emotions and walk on the water, as we spoke about yesterday, has a lot to do with the foods we eat. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was honored and am honored to have shared that space. And the conflict I was having was definitely an internal conflict, because when someone challenges your ego, you know, that's an internal conflict. And one of the last gateways before, you know, we wrap it up that I want to speak on, because we are on the subject of new friends, is sacred relationships, which is the
yes.
big one. I consider this one of the big ones within the program, really because a lot of us have trouble with the interaction within our relationships, whether it's family, friends, our parents, our children, our significant other. Relationships are really a struggle. How do we balance us, stay true to who I am, and also honor the divinity within the relationship that I have? One of the things that I've learned so much throughout this journey, and I really want to just say this sisterhood, okay? Because Sacred Woman is not just a program. It is a sisterhood. It is a family, a community. That's the way I see it. And that's the way many of the sisters see it, as more than just a program. And what I've noticed in regards to this sisterhood is sometimes it's difficult when you hold something to a high regard and it falls short of where you want to see it or you envisioned it. You know, we imagine that as sacred sisters, we pick up the phone and we're going to talk to each other every day. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes a week goes by. We have our little check-ins and we'll drop a note or something and check in with one another. But some of us, you know, may feel that we're not reaching out enough, or there's not a lot of correspondence after the rites of passage. And for that, I want to say, and I'm speaking to this with everyone, even outside of our sisterhood, you get what you put in.
That's
In
good.
any
That's good.
relationship, you get what you put in. And a lot of times we want to see difference in our relationships, but we show up as the same person. And
Ooh.
what I learned in sacred relationships is I have to show up as the person I desire to be to get the result from the relationship that I want. So if I want, my significant other to cater to me, to allow me to live softly, I have to show up that way. I can't show up in all my masculine energy expecting
Ooh.
that to come back. If I want to invite closeness and new friendships, I have to open up. I have to be close. I have to reach out. And
Yeah.
life happens to all of us.
Mhm.
But when we create these sacred and safe spaces, it don't matter if you might walk away and do your thing. You still in the circle, in my eyes. Every
And
name I've ever seen across the screen on any of them Zooms, you still a sacred sister.
and that is so true. Let's dive a little deeper into that, even outside of, like you said, our sacred sister community. We all have sacred relationships. We
Yes.
have relationships with people. All of us have those sacred relationships, let me say that. And the way that we interact and engage in those relationships are also, or should also, challenge us to grow,
Mm-hmm.
challenge us to be better, challenge us to expand beyond what we have gotten comfortable in, right? Sometimes I have seen in my life that if I have relationships with people that don't align with the truth of who I am, those relationships begin to be a little tumultuous, or
Mm-hmm.
they begin to be a little, make me feel a little uncomfortable because I'm not able to be who I am, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have to really be mindful when you get into these relationships and you begin to have to shrink back, or not be so bright, or be something that you're not, or act a certain way that is not really your norm. Those are not the relationships that are truly growing you. They are inspiring you because now you can become aware of how I am being misaligned and begin to make different choices with the expectation that it will help the relationship evolve. But in some cases, as we learned, those relationships that are not aligned to where we're going will eventually drop off. But then on a healthy side of it, we see that those relationships with our sacred people or sacred sisters that align to our truth, we could not talk for months. Or even in your outside relationships, you have those go to friends that we cannot talk for months. But the moment we talk, we're picking it up right where we left off, with no judgment, with no expectation, with no, oh, I ain't talked to her. And but no, it's just because we're living life in that vibration that we're carrying remains the same. And it is to inspire and uplift and encourage. And that's what we seek. And that's what we've created within this circle. And that's what we want to continue to build on, even as we go into the other topics. This week, or today's topic was all about our sacred woman journey and our experience, because we are all sacred women, as you said before. Just some of us haven't ascended yet.
I
And that is a huge, huge drop the mic, because we are all sacred. We are all sacred people. We are all sacred women. But some of us just haven't tapped into the sacredness of who we are. Not to mention that there's a mindset of being sacred, or an action or an outward appearance of being sacred, but it's the sacredness of just being you, period. Being
Yes.
you and knowing who you are, knowing how that shows up in your life, where you feel the highest vibration of joy, of peace, of abundance, of prosperity, of wealth, of health, of peace. That's what we aim for. And when you find that vibration, to continue to hold that vibration, you really have to work at it. And there's people around you that are here to help you do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are those women. We are the women who lighten the darkness. We have come
Yes, we have
to
come
light
to
the
lighten the
darkness.
darkness. Yes.
And with that, we definitely want to make sure that you all are aware that we do this all day, every day. We are here to share our gifts, to share our knowledge, to share um,
Our lifestyle.
our lifestyle. Yes, with the collective, we have spoken yesterday about the shift that's happening energetically. So if you are a woman who may be feeling stuck, you need some clarity, you feel a change, but you don't know where to start, who to start with, or how to start, we definitely invite you to tap in with us. We will be hosting our 12-week cohort, which will allow you to really journey through each of the principles. You'll have a week with each principle. We mentioned a few today on the call, but there are several more that we didn't have time to get to. But we go through each we go through each principle, and we allow you some time within that principle, so you get a week to really see what that means to you, to not only dive into what triggers you, because we talked about triggers today, right? What triggers you within that gateway, but not only that, what are some of the thoughts, some things that you may need to release, write down, journal about in regards to the gateway? What boundaries do you need to set?
That's a good one.
You know, because when we're triggered, I always think of triggers as a way of identifying a boundary that we need to set. So what boundaries do we need to set? And here's a little tip. Boundaries we set are for ourselves, not others.
Ashe, ashe. And that's a great point. And just to throw out that we are both, we both did the Sacred Woman Rites of Passage, but we also have completed our Sacred Woman practitioner training so that we can really dive a little bit deeper. We're outside of Sacred Woman, both life coaches, and have worked with women in the capacity of just life issues. So even if Sacred Woman isn't your thing and you really want to just have a safe space to reach out, talk to someone, be vulnerable, this is your space. And we are very much available to help guide you in the areas that you feel are coming up as challenges. So know that you're not alone. Know that there is a circle of sisters out here. And we are truly, truly, truly about being 100% genuine to who we are, so that we can also allow that vibration to allow you to be truly who you are. We are so super excited, again, like Lady Unk had said, about the cohort coming up October 22nd. If you wish to participate, please put in the chat, me too movement, so so that we can reach out to you personally. In the next weeks and months to come, we will be tapping into a lot of the other ideas and situations that people may want to share. We'll be bringing in other guests to speak on other issues. We'll talk about things outside of just Sacred Woman. It's just, this is the podcast for Sacred Woman, that we did want to showcase our experiences and our meeting and how we have come into this work of really reaching women and helping them adjust their crowns, speaking up, speaking out, and fixing crowns in the process. So we thank you. We thank you for your time. We thank you for the opportunity to share. And we hope that you're getting a feel of who we are as individuals and that you see your reflection in us, because we are all one, for sure.
Ashe. And I do just want to give unks to our Queen Mother, Queen Afua, and the Queen Afua Wellness Institute. If you are interested in going through the Rites of Passage or finding out more about the Sacred Woman Rites of Passage and our sisterhood in our sacred sisterhood, you can do so by going on to queenafua.com or Queen Afua Wellness Institute on any social platforms, but you can definitely go to the website and find out more information about that there. I just want to say I love you all. Thank you all for tapping in with us today. It is always a blessing to be in the circle. As one of my mentors would say, if it's in the seed, it's in the room. So if you heard anything today that resonated with you, please like, share, subscribe, do all the things. We want to bring more creative content like this to you. We are bringing this to you raw and uncut because that is how our heart spaces are set up.
Yes.
So that's what it is. You hear the babies laughing and giggling in the background. That's how we do, you know.
Yes. We coming to you live, just in the moment, just really challenging ourselves in the process and hoping that this inspires action and something in you that piques your interest, that makes you want to know more. And if you have any specific topics that you would like to dive into, you can also DM us on our platforms, or even comment in the comments of issues or ideas of topics. We'll be really open to discussing those as well. And we thank you again for showing up for us and showing up for you. Until next time. Peace and
Until
love.
next time, peace.